there. Welcome to From Boxes to Butterflies. And this is a chance today. I'm Susannah Dawn, and today I'm taking this opportunity to just get a chance to talk with everybody and provide a little bit more information about what it is that I mean when I'm talking about boxes to butterflies, and just some of the things that I talk about. So it's a chance to get more about boxes because they're everywhere. And thank you, sis. Thank you, Constance, for being here. And so with that, hey, Amber, Sam, it's just, so many wonderful people already to see. I'm only going to do this for about a half an hour because this is my chance to lay out some of the things that I talk about, be a little bit more open about, like, what does it mean to be in a box? So many of us, people will talk about boxes, and the idea of being in a box is just maybe a job. Maybe it's where somebody's at in life. I've always viewed boxes as these things that people stick us in, or we put ourselves in, to just hold us back. The boxes are sometimes our own design, especially if it's imposter syndrome, or it's something about us that we're afraid other people will find something out about it, and we don't know how they might react. They might talk about us. It's fear. It's all fear driven that puts us in that box and keeps us from stepping out beyond the box. When others put us in the box, that's because they see something about us. They pick some aspect of us. Maybe it's neurodiversity, it's mental health. It could be a tattoo in the workplace. It could be LGBTQ plus. So many different things that somebody sees you and says, this is what you are, and they stick you in that box. It's really hard to be in that box because most of us don't belong there. It's not who we are. When we're put in the box, this is where some of those biases come in. When people stick us in a box, they put us in there and then they label us based on a subset of a subset of a subset of whatever example it is that they want to fit the narrative that they want to describe everybody in that box as if everybody in the box is equal. They're the same. The last I saw, each of us is pretty dang unique. And even if you have various different attributes and can be put in so many different boxes, why? Why limit to a box? Why be stuck? And so the reality is, when people stick us in a box, everybody who's neurodiverse, okay, so they're put in a neurodiverse box. They're not the same. They're not the same at all. They're just as diverse as the rest of the country. They're politically as far left as far right. They have different interests. They're not the same people. So you can't stick them in a box. So when we're stuck in those boxes, it is so hard to break out. So first off, I'm going to kind of call out. I see Carrie's here and Amber. And yes, Amber, it's like burn the boxes. We're just taking them down. The amazing Sia, CJ, Trevor's here, Kristen, Nori, Sam. It's great seeing everybody here. And there's just so much. And Dr. Noopy's here. There's just so much about these boxes. I talk about them because all my life I've been put in them. How many of you have gone through life where people look at you and they say, this is what you are, this is who you are, this is what you're supposed to do, this is what you're expected to do, and then you're stuck. You're in a box and you no longer really know who you are. I mean, inside, we know who we are. I know who my authentic self is. But when I'm being told that I'm supposed to be something that doesn't agree with who I really am, what happens? We get lost. We get stuck. That authentic self, the way I describe the authentic self, because for some people have said, oh, that term is just overused. It's used too much. We need something else. And I think about it, and it's like, there really isn't another word that fits. Because when I look at authentic self, when I look at who I am, that is who I am at my core. And when I talk about my core, I'm talking about my soul. I've known who I am my whole life. I know what my soul is. So when other people try to tell me that I'm something else, I'm fill in the blank, it's hard. You're stuck. You don't know where to go. And yes, Sam, I know what it's like to put ourselves in the box. Oftentimes that's the way I will describe imposter syndrome. That is a box. That is definitely a box that we have built block by block, and just built those walls as thick and as high as we can make it, because we do stick ourselves in boxes. We're afraid to let people find out about our truths when those truths can be what makes us so amazing. Those can be our superpowers. For somebody who has ADHD, why should they feel like they have to hide because they have it? It keeps us from engaging with people in the workplace. And when we're not engaged in the workplace, our great ideas are actually held back. We're not able to be as open, as interactive with people, because we're trying to hide something, because we don't know how they're going to react. We don't know what they might do. And for a company that says, yes, we promote everybody, it's a great place, it's a safe place, we want you to be your authentic self. But when the people don't feel like they can be their authentic self, they can't be themselves, then the reality is, in a business case, they become depreciating assets of the company. Because if you can't give your wonderful ideas out there because you're afraid of what other people will say or think or do without knowing the reality of it, and we sit there and we're not willing to provide what might be the best answer to a problem, because answering that problem will let people in on what it is we're hiding. What are we holding back? Because only somebody that is like that might be able to come up with that answer, because of how their brain works, the neurodiversity, mental health. They've run into something. They have a piece of knowledge that they're hiding because it will expose something about them, and it makes life difficult. So when we're stuck in these boxes, and hey, Johanna and Shonda, it's like, I get that. It's great that you have a benefit being open about that. That's beautiful. But exactly, I see what you mean, how people can use it against you. And that's why we keep building the walls, and we build them higher, taller, thicker. But when we build these walls, we enclose ourselves in them, but we enclose something else. And what we've enclosed inside these walls around us is fear. It's our fear. Our fear is always there in the shadows of the box. And the darker it is in the box, the stronger the fear is. Fear makes us feel like it's safe in the box, even though it's not. Fear is always telling us, if you look beyond the box, if you look through the cracks, because it's never solid, it will weave grains of truth within its translucent web of lies. Those things that are keeping us in the box, keeping us stuck. So when we're stuck, fear's got a hold of us. Its voice is so seductive. It just makes us feel safe in that box. And the reality is, we don't have to be in that box. And we shouldn't be in that box. But when we're stuck there, we need something to guide us out. We need something that will bring some light onto our situation in the box. And this is where awareness comes in. Because many of us, we know we're stuck. We know what we should do. But if knowing is half the battle, awareness is the first step. We need that awareness to finally start shrugging off our fears and start looking at taking that first step. And the importance of the first step is not how big that step is. It doesn't have to be big at all. It can be a baby step. It can be tiny. That's perfectly fine. It's a step. It's a step towards getting out of the box. And that's what matters the most. So when we ignite that awareness, when we start seeing more light in the box, we see where we want to go. We are able to start listening less to that fear that's trying to keep us in the box, keep us away from everybody. And it will at times muster up its strength when it thinks it can come in and just sneakily pull you back. You don't let it. When we look through the cracks in the walls, we can see everything outside. Awareness, though, is you look through those cracks, you see what's out there, and you see that grain of truth that fear told you would happen. If you're LGBTQ and you open up, if you tell people that you overcame an addiction, if you've been hiding, you don't speak so much because you're hiding your non-regional accent, these things that are holding us back. You see the grain of truth, but when you start looking at the bigger picture, when you start seeing the reality out there, you see that there's so much more you can do. And when there's so much more to do out there, and the opportunities are there, they're not in the box. There's no opportunities in the box except to have a best friend called fear. Not my idea of a good time. So that's when we need to take those steps. And sometimes it can be hard. When I talk about reinvention, which is an aspect of this, I like to use the picture of a scene from Kong, Skull Island. There's a picture, there's a scene in the movie where the main characters are walking into this huge cavern. And inside the cavern, there's a lot of painting on the walls. Some of it is maybe stick figures, but a lot of it are lines that don't make any sense. It's hard to tell what it means. And as they walk towards the center, some of the pictures are kind of moving around. Once they're standing in the middle of the room, they look at the paintings, and there's a huge picture of Kong. When I talk about moving beyond the box, you know what you want to do. The awareness is there. You know the steps you want to take. You know where you want to go. And now it's time to start taking those steps. But you see that picture. It's like in Kong Skull Island. You see the picture. You know where you want to go. You want to go to where that picture of Kong is. But you don't see the path. You see obstacles. It's hard to see where to go. And then fear is just playing with this. Because remember, fear's been with you your whole life. Fear knows all of your experiences in life. It knows how to cherry pick which ones will have the most impact on how you think and how you react. And it will use the ones that it thinks will have the biggest impact to keep you stuck in that box. But here's the thing. If you can shift your perspective, or you get that coach, you get that mentor, you get that best friend, you have that group of sisters who they're able to see things from a different perspective. They're able to kind of help you shift your viewpoint enough so that, just like backing away from the center of that cavern in Kong Skull Island, as you back away from it, you start seeing that the picture's not solid, that the obstacles that you were seeing in front of you, they're not so much obstacles anymore. Some of them, now from a different viewpoint, you can see the ways to move around them, to sidestep them. Some of them, you see that it's not an obstacle, it's just a speed bump. And you just move past it. With that help, with those people, with that awareness, you're able to move beyond the box. You're able to take those steps. And as much as fear is going to scream, more light is coming into that box with your awareness. And here's the thing. I said fear hides in the shadows. It can only survive in the shadows. The more light that is shed on you and the inside of that box that's holding you back, the things that you've been afraid of on the outside, those fears that you're afraid of, the what might they say, what would happen if I did this, what would happen if I do that, the more light you get, the weaker those fears get, because you're seeing the reality of, this person's doing it and they're successful. That person's doing it and they're successful. You're not seeing the small picture that fear is telling you. You're seeing the big picture. You're seeing there's others who have already blazed the trail before you. You're seeing that people are talking about whatever it was you were afraid of at work, and they're not making fun of it. They're accepting. They understand it. And so as you move, now you're getting to the point where you can move beyond the boxes. And moving beyond boxes is such an exhilarating thing. When you move beyond the box, you have something magical that happens, something amazing. And the best example that I have of this is from my favorite movie, Captain Marvel. When Captain Marvel, when she is trapped at the end of the movie, she's in with the Supreme Intelligence. She knows where she got her power, but she's still trapped in a box with the Supreme Intelligence. And the Supreme Intelligence, there's the fear. It's like showing her the pictures of all the times she fell down, how she kept falling down, and without them, there's no way she would be as successful as she was now. She couldn't control it. Her powers, she couldn't do anything. She was helpless. And in the end, Supreme Intelligence goes, "You're only human," as if being human is nothing. Whereas the Supreme Intelligence and being under that control, being under the control of fear, is everything. That's safety. And yet, Carol sees her past. She sees it every time she falls down, and she sees every time she got back up. Every time she got back up. She falls off the rope, she gets back up. She crashes in the go-kart, she gets back up. She's knocked over on the beach, she gets back up. And she looks at the Supreme Intelligence and says, sure, she's human. It's who she is. But the reality is she's been fighting with one arm tied behind her back. And as she takes the chip off her neck that had been holding her back, this is where she breaks out of the box. The Supreme Intelligence is looking scared because the control is now gone. In the real world, Captain Marvel is breaking free of the bonds that have been holding her back. But more importantly, she was shining. In a scene later, Nick Fury goes, "You know you're glowing." It's like, yeah, this is what it's like to move beyond the box and to shine as your authentic self. That part of Captain Marvel is the best picture I've seen of what it feels like to walk out of captivity, walk out of the box, bust the box, not worry that people will find out something about you anymore, that instead you own it. Fear, when you own your fear, fear no longer owns you. And once you own that fear, once you step outside the box, it's up to you to decide who you tell, what you tell them, when, where, how, why you say anything. Because most importantly, you decide if you tell them whatever it was that you've been hiding behind the box. And once you own fear, yes, people might find out. But at that point, it's so what? You are you. And that is what is the most important thing to be. So that is what it feels like to move beyond the box. I see your question, Christine. Parents who refuse to call their trans kids by their preferred name, it's the kid's choice. The parents are trying to put them in that box. The parents are trying to do everything they can by the name, by refusing to accept them, to put them in a box, to try and put them back in the box that the parents can only view them as. But if the kid is able to step outside of the box, to shine as themselves, then it doesn't matter what the parents are saying anymore. Now, it will depend on the age of the kid because there's issues there. But if they're at the point where they can leave the house, then yes, The kid owns it. And again, when you own your fear, because being trans is a fear, when you own that fear, it no longer owns you. You decide if you even tell anybody. You don't have to tell anybody. And you no longer worry about what might happen if people find out. It's all the kid, the child should know who they are. And it's important to let the kids be who they are. We're all individuals. We're all unique. And in this world right now, we're dealing with politics and stuff too. And that's an area that I'm not going to get into at this point. What's most important is it's time to start moving beyond the boxes. It's time to start seeing each other as who we are, because we know who we are. Other people, and let's face it, that woman who had a skiing accident and lost a leg, is she no longer a woman because she's not who she was before? Her core hasn't changed. Who she is in her heart, her soul, that hasn't changed. All that's changed was this shell. And we already know the shell is only that. It's just to get us through this world right now until death and we go to the next point. So that's where we're at on the box. There's a couple of other things I would like to go into, but man, that half hour went by really fast. The only other thing I'm going to do is kind of touch briefly on a post that I did yesterday where I talk about the armor of God, the book that I have coming out, Search for the Armor of God. Because this story, it aligns exactly with what I'm talking about. The main character, his name is Prince Henry. He's the oldest son of 3. He's not like his brothers. He's more like his mother. And everybody keeps telling him who he is, what he's supposed to do, how he's supposed to act. And he's losing himself. In this story, something happens and he ends up going on a quest to find the armor of God. He's the oldest, but the quest is being led by his younger brother. And during this quest, as he's with his younger brother, it's a chance for him to really understand who he is, to find his way out of the box, because when we are our authentic selves, we can't be boxed. And that's Henry's story. He is going to go on a journey, both physically and both spiritually. And during those journeys, he's going to find himself, understand who he is, and at the same time, he's going to understand the meaning and the purpose of the armor of God. And I'm going to leave you with that. So I want to thank everybody so much for taking time to just be with me today. I love your comments, and I will go through them a little bit later because I definitely want to make sure I answer and give you guys the same attention you gave me being here. And just to give you a quick heads up, I'm doing a second live this week. I'm going to do it on Friday at 10 o'clock. I just posted about it. This is going to be with the founder of a group, of a movement, Get Out of Her Damn Way movement. And it's her summit at the end of this month that I will be a speaker at. So it's my chance to bring Tracy Lee onto the platform. She's newer when it comes to LinkedIn. So it's a chance for me to just bring her energy here and let everybody get a chance to meet and see what she's like. And I have a feeling a lot of women, after you hear her, you'll be looking forward to going to the same summit that I'll be speaking at. It's an online summit and it's free. So with that, thank you so much. And I hope the rest of your day is beautiful, lovely, and wonderful. Take care. Bye.